new to Whiskey Gaming, and this is my later review of the Dark Pictures Anthology House of Ashes. I played on the PS5, it's also available on the PS4, Xbox Series, Xbox One, and PC. So first off, there is another review coming on October 31st. I'm going to wrap up my Dead Space trilogy reviews. But let's get into the House of Ashes. Once again, you end up playing as multiple characters: Salim, Eric, Jason, Nick, Rachel. I think that's all of them. But it takes place in Iraq. In 2003, you play as multiple members of the American military as well as like CIA. And Salim is a member of the Iraqi military. Specifically, the dudes we were fighting at the time. But when the story actually kicks off, it takes place many years ago, and it kind of gives the big thing away that kind of takes away from the story immediately. I really think the story could have benefited from not giving away the fact that there's monsters right away, and it just throws that out there for everyone to see just immediately, so it doesn't build up any terror, it doesn't build up any suspense when you get to the main story and you're following the main characters, because you already know that there are monsters hunting them. But where the story begins for the real guys is, you know, they're on a mission for weapons of mass destruction, chemical weapons, etc. Well, it turns out they didn't find them, but they found this cavern full of spooky monsters. And now they must survive and try to escape, and, you know, the story goes deeper than that, but obviously I'm not going to go into it because of spoilers, but I will say that I was disappointed in the ending. I didn't like the way it went. I also think that this game does some really interesting things when it comes to the writing, and this will bleed a little into the script because maybe it was a voiceover thing, but there are things that they nail, and like, it'll bleed into visuals a little bit as well, but like, when the US military first went into Iraq, they didn't have enough properly camoed body armor, so you had guys running around in green body armor, and they show that in this game, but then they also show like wrong things, like the wrong weapons. And then they write weird little things that aren't, you know, correct, but then they nail other weird little details. It's just weird the things they nailed and didn't nail. But let's get into the audio, and I'm going to say the voiceover work in this game is really well done, which doesn't surprise me. I think these games have done, for the most part, a very good job with that. Next up, you have the audio, and the audio is, once again, really good in this game. I think they have done a great job with the audio throughout this series so far. As well as the music, I thought was very good, except for that stupid-ass song during the opening credits. I still don't feel like it fits. I don't feel like it will ever fit, to put it very simply. But overall, I would say I was very happy with the audio in this game. Now let's get into the gameplay mechanics and whatnot, and once again, it is very much an interactive narrative. The horror elements, they just don't quite land on in this game, quite frankly, because like I said, they give it away pretty much immediately. But as for the gameplay mechanics, it is what you would expect. There is a bit of free exploration that you can do to find clues, find items, find secrets, etc. All the action really takes place in quick-time events, and this game sucks at it, unfortunately. And somehow, I don't understand, because the other games haven't always nailed it, but this gun's really bad at it. And I guess maybe it's something that happened in the other games, but one thing that really annoyed me is there are times where the game will give you a warning icon, basically, telling you that an action is coming, but then there are other times where it won't give you a warning icon telling you that an action is coming. So that inconsistency can really fuck you over, to put it very simply. And on more than a few occasions, I definitely felt like it fucked me over. And I also want to say, because it kind of bleeds into that, but it's going to bleed into visuals a little bit as well, there are times where the prompts that you get to perform an action, well, they get washed out by the visuals, by the lighting in the visuals, by a flashlight, by just how the lighting is. There are times where it gets washed out and it makes it unneededly difficult. But at the end of the day, it does operate exactly like you would expect an interactive narrative type game to operate. The unfortunate problem is I just don't feel like it worked as well. I think the variety in the little games is good, but I think that it doesn't work well, to put it simply. There were definitely times where I feel like I got screwed over despite doing what I was supposed to have done. And like I said, the inconsistency of when you get warnings and when you don't is just, it's unnecessary, it's bullshit. But let's get into the controls, because, like I said, there is that inconsistency at times when you will feel like you have pressed the button. There were times where I was 99% positive that I did the action, I hit the button that I needed to hit, and the game was like, nah, fuck you. Just plain and simple, that's how it felt like at times, and when it feels that way, it takes away from the experience. So I do feel like there may be some control issues in that sense. But also I found one weird thing, and it really is just weird, is there are times when you are doing the free roam thing and you can independently control your flashlight / camera, and like it's independent of your body. But then there are times where it directs your body. So it's weird that they switch that up. So there are just times where there's that lack of consistency is the best way I can phrase it. Like, we're all used to this in games where you press left on the right stick, it controls your camera and it turns your character. There are times where that happens and it works that way, but then there are times where it doesn't work that way. So the controls are just oddly inconsistent. I will also say that, like, when you are controlling the camera, especially up and down, it is really sensitive. It tends to swing a lot more than you'd expect. Now let's get into the graphics and visuals, and like I said earlier, there were some weird, like, visual things that they nail, but then some weird visual things that they don't nail. But overall, I did like the design of the areas you were in. I thought the caves were good and spooky and claustrophobic, and they did create a claustrophobic feel at times when they were trying to create them. And I gotta say, I actually liked the creature design for the most part. I thought it was pretty cool. And I liked each of the characters being unique, having their own little, like, unique elements to them. Things like that I really enjoyed. I will say, though, this is not the most beautiful game I've ever seen. I really would love to see them just get the full budget, full time to just make something that's as gorgeous as possible and tell the story with it. I think the game looks good enough to do what they are doing for the most part. There was one scene near the end, and I won't say what it was, but if you do end up playing this game, or you have played this game, you will know exactly what I'm talking about, because it looks like some straight up really poorly photoshopped shit. And it's near the very end, so obviously I'm not going to say what it is, but it's really bad looking. Like, just ridiculously bad looking. It doesn't even make sense. I will say one of my favorite visual things, though, in the game was some of the items you find trigger these, like, narrative bits from a former expedition into these caves, into these ruins, and I really liked the way they did that when it would go black and white and you'd kind of get this old-timey radio vibe while it's being narrated to you by one of the members of the expedition. So I liked that visual element. I liked the visuals for the most part in this game. This being an interactive narrative, it's hard to, like, do a really, really in-depth dive as a review, but I will say that out of the Dark Pictures Anthology series, this is my least favorite game. And that is because, honestly, I felt the story went in some really, like, the direction it went in, I just didn't vibe with, so that is an on-me thing, that is a personal element. And I felt like the gameplay just didn't function as well as it has in previous games. It feels like they're constantly not living up to what they did with Until Dawn. And I'm still waiting for that one game in the Dark Pictures Anthology series to be the winner, to be that one that really pulls me in and just gets me really into it, and they still haven't hit that yet. But once again, they did do a great job with, like, a creepy trailer at the very end of this game for the next game, which gets me interested in the next game, even though I've been disappointed overall in the series. So to wrap this up, I gotta say, at least for me, I regret playing this game. I really didn't enjoy it. I really wish I could have enjoyed it more than I did. I always love playing these, like, interactive narratives, and up until a certain point I really, really liked it, but there's a point at the end where it just completely lost me and did some really lame ass shit. And I think I may dive into it a bit more in a spoiler talk, but overall I'm not going to recommend this one. But that is with the addendum that, you know, that's a story element issue that I had with the game, so that's an on me thing. This is one of those hard ones to really judge because somebody may really love the twist that I hated. Okay, so in the comments down below, why don't you tell me, are you a big fan of the Dark Pictures Anthology? Because I really want to be. I really want to be. And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share and subscribe. Have a good one.